Okay, so today we're going to troubleshoot this Reznor unit. We got a Reznor unit inside the Seasons 4. We got this G67BG-5 or whatever. We're going to look at it and see what's wrong with it. We're going to replace a bunch of the parts. I'll show you how I did it and everything. And anyway, I hope you learn a thing or two about a thing or two. One of the first things that I do is I always start and I look up this controller. So, I downloaded the menu to a generic menu on these controllers right here. And so the thing that I really like to do is go to sequence of operation. This is so important right there. Just read through that. So basically what should happen is, this should open a pilot valve. It should spark. The pilot valve, the pilot burner's electrode should sense it. Right? Well, the pilot burner gas ignites. The pilot flame sensor detects the pilot flame and signals the G67 to energize the main gas valve. So that's what should be happening right now. So the issue that I'm having is that it doesn't seem to ever light the pilot light. So how do you do that? You just turn on the unit and you watch it. It's not lighting the pilot light. So now we're going to take a deep dive into it and see what's going on. So as you can see, I hooked everything up. And I'm going to go through why I did it this way. But I'm going to go turn on the units and we'll take a look. Through is, if you go down further in this manual, you're going to see this whole wiring diagram right here. This one's fantastic right here, and you can see that on that W, right, which is our universal, understanding that is our call for heat. That W will go down to, where does it go? To 2, right? So if I'm getting voltage to 2 from W, right, I know that this unit is being called for heat. Right, so that means off of W, then if I go from here, off a pilot valve right here, so pin number 1, that should be sending voltage to my pilot valve to make it run. So what we're going to do is we're going to check that. So let's look at reality and what's here quick. So you can see we have sensor, MV, this TH2, 4, MV. So we know from our diagram that 2 is the signal to have voltage. Is currently off right now. And then so we go over here, pilot valve. So if I should be seeing electricity into this too, and I should be seeing electricity coming out of this pilot valve and going down to here into, if we look on the side of this valve, maybe we can see it on the camera, I don't know. We got PV. So I should see it coming out this top one right there. So we're going to look at that. So what we're going to do is we're going to check electricity there, make sure that we have a signal, check electricity there, make sure that we have the signal coming out down to the gas valve, check electricity here, make sure that we're actually getting electricity to the gas valve, because there could be something wrong with the wire run. And then we're going to use a manometer to check whether or not we're getting gas pressure in our line. And then we're going to also simultaneously check and see if our spark plug is sparking. So in this particular store, it's run off of a Danfoss controller. We're going to go to our settings on our HVAC unit 1. Actually, we're going to go service on our HVAC unit 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to manually turn on both stages of heat. So we're going to log in with our super secret information that I can't tell you. And we're going to manual it on. And we're going to go down, we're going to manual it on. So now I know both stages of heat are on. It's going to come on. Alright, so first thing here, this is all corroded and gross. I can't see any sparks, but a lot of the time, if I'm honest, it's more of a daytime thing. You can see it at nighttime some of the time, but I can't visually see anything, and it looks like junk. But okay, so now we're going to check electricity and voltage to see what's going on. Also hear that it's kind of making a sound that's unpleasant. I don't like it. Also, some of you might say, oh, you got to check. Is the gas on? The gas is on, and the other stage of heating is working correctly. So I know that this gas is feeding, because if you look at that pipe, feeds all the way down there. So we're going to look through this right now. So we're going to go to this W. So W is 26. We go over here to 26. All right, so we got 26 on the pilot valve and the W. And it also seems like this controller, because I've tried to do this a couple times, is actually kind of intermittently failing. So it's a good thing we wrote that up also. So my main reason for writing up the controller was I knew the gas valve was bad, but somebody said to me, I quote, "It's never worked quite right." So for an extra $100, we're going to make sure that this thing works quite right. This because with a picture, because the Testo app doesn't translate over well to recording, Anyway, you can see from my testo probe that we got 0.03 inches of water column. I'm not entirely sure what the pilot line should be pushing for inches of water column, but I know up here says 3.5 inches of water column, and as far as I can tell, there is no flow through that pilot line. So if we know that voltage is coming here, we know that this is getting voltage to turn on, this is sending voltage to here, we know those two things for a fact. This isn't sparking, it doesn't seem to be, but we know for a fact this is getting the voltage to operate correctly, and it's not. So the gas valve is no good. We're going to replace this because it looks like garbage, and this seems to be doing some funky things. Also, they said, you know, I quote, it's never worked right. So we're going to replace them all. So what I would recommend doing when you do a gas valve, my opinion, now I am a refrigeration technician first, you know, heating guy during a brief period of time during the winter months. Okay, so like, you know, I'm just a dude on the internet. Like I say, if you get hurt or nothing, it's your fault for listening to the dumb bum on the internet. But I would recommend getting the piping that is directly adjacent to the gas valve. So for instance, this pipe right there, we're also going to get this little stub that threads into that side of the pipe, and we've also got another one of these unions, okay, and then we've also got a whole nother union over there. Sorry, that's a reducer coupling right there, and then we got a union right there. So I always get kind of the adjacent piping because if I'm honest, it's such a pain in the butt to remove. So my opinion, yeah, here's what it is. So we're going to shut down the unit and take this whole thing apart. Just take stock of what you have before you put it in. So you got this kit with the igniter and everything. We have another slightly different sensor, and then we have a gas valve, and that gas valve has a direction on the bottom. So first off, take pictures, put tape, do what you got to do to remember where these wires go. We're just going to reuse what's there. Also, a lot of these things to remove: burner rack assembly, turn off gas if necessary, disconnect pilot tube, disconnect gas valve and electrical leads, break union and gas supply line piping, remove screw at the corners of this panel, and pull assembly straight out. So try to look for if there's anything that might help you on the actual unit. So we're going to do that, disconnecting this electrical right there. We got that pilot line out, gas valves off. So now what we're going to do is we're going to remove this union right there, and I believe I'm going to disconnect this from down in there as well. So we broke the union, the gas pilot lines out, and then we have 1, 2 screws at those corners we're going to undo. Now that those screws are out, you just grab and pull, and the whole thing will come out like so. Also worth noting, I always shut off the main gas and shut down the whole unit. So you definitely want to brush this thing down, brush out all that junk right there. You want to also make sure that all those tips are clear, and just make sure that nothing is blocked and everything is adequately clean. There's no holes anywhere also. Now that it's free, we're going to have to unscrew right there, and there, and pull this pipe away because this gas valve will not turn with it being so close to that assembly. So I'm going to unscrew this little thing right there, and those couple, separate that bar from the assembly. Also worth mentioning, I took off the pilot line. We want to save this because we want to compare it to our new pilot line so we can make it in the new one anyway. So you can see that the whole assembly's off. So what I ended up doing, not that you really need to know this, I'm sure you can figure this out on your own, but I actually used these wrenches down there as kind of a stability thing so it wouldn't ruin the roof. And then I grabbed on my my medium size, I guess it's not really big, the pipe wrenches go huge, and so I planted my foot here, and I used that lever arm rotation to actually, you know, turn the valve, and now we're going to twist that valve free and build a new valve. Worth mentioning, disconnected that line right there. It connected right there because I had to get this whole thing off, and then those, you know, 3/8 bolts over there. So no, just taking this thing off. All right, so from here we're just going to build the valve out like the other one was before. So you can see direction that way, it makes sense. So we got a little connector bit there. We have our reducer coupling with a straight pipe, and then we have a union. Okay, so we're just going to build this out, and we're going to put some Blue Monster pipe thread sealant on there, formicated for extra lubricant. This is a pipe dope, standard 14, standard 61. So you know, follow the law of your state You know, if your state needs a piped open on your pipes, put piped open on your pipes. If you need to be a gas fitter, have your gas fitter's license or whatever, follow the laws of your state. Alright, so just real quick, I cleaned the threads because some of that stuff from in there got on the threads. Anyway, so just make sure they're clean. I use this HD degreaser, heavy duty cleaner degreaser NC. I always put that in there because people have asked multiple times. So we're going to use the pipe dope I just mentioned and dope up those pipes and put them on. So just figured I put it in by hand tight, put just a little bit of pipe dope on the threads, and then I take, you know, pipe wrench and like cock it around a little bit until it's decently on there. So obviously next up is the union, but make sure that this little piece on the union's on there first because you can't put it on after. So you got to slide that on, put that in, tighten it up a little bit. So I'm just tightening up until it's very unpleasant to turn. Now we're going to do these guys. Now this one, kind of interesting. You see how it swells in the middle? So we're going to pop this one in there. We're going to put, you know, pipe dope on it, of course, pop it in there. And then as we turn this one in, when this turns, our final turns, so this is going to the right, this is going to the right, it's going to actually cause this one to turn, which is going to cause it to kind of like swell up. You see how it's swelling up in the middle? It's going to cause this tightening. It's going to hold it all together. So now that it's connected like this, I popped it in there, screwed it on there, that's in there. I did this one full turn, you know, by grabbing the body of the valve with my pipe wrench, turning that valve. So now I'm going to turn it right back to that. Kind of hard to do with one hand, to that last position. Anyway, you get what I mean. Just the one time around to make sure that's good to go. And we're going to leak check it with soapy bubbles and, you know, make sure there's no gas leaking. Alright, so before we put it all back together, things that you should do. So turn on my light so you can see. Make sure that every single one of those holes are clear. And then you have this little strip right here. You're also going to just check all those little things, and just if it looks like there's gunk built up in there, scrape it off, make sure it's good. There's not overly plugged or anything. So now from here, what we're going to do is you're going to see these little lip right there. There's a little lip on either side. We're going to take that lip, we're going to put it up, and we're going to slide it in through here. Obviously, I can't show that with just the camera. Slide it in through there, pop it back in place, and we're going to connect it to the union that's there. Because I do believe if you can reuse what's there, reuse it. Okay, it is good to do if you can reuse what's there. It's just, I find that it's easier to just replace the things directly adjacent to the, you know, to the actual gas valve itself. But if we can reuse what's there, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. All right, so now this is back in place, screwed in, 1, 2. All right, now we're moving on to the igniter. So we're gonna come over here, well, you know, the module or whatever it is. So we're gonna come over here, and it's just very simple, 1 for 1. So you can see MV, master gas valve, MV. And then we have PV, pilot valve, PV, right over there. And then we have 4, which is the sensor. Okay, sensor. We have TH, which is 2, which is TH. And then we have a spark right there. Okay, so we're just gonna plop that on over, and then I'll show that to you. So all right, so you can see that those ones went up easy. Now we have this brown one back here. This brown one is actually the burner ground right there, and then you see how it has a 24-volt ground coming off that needs to go somewhere. Well, if we check on this current one, there's a little bit of a ground snake, like a little guy sneaking out, that goes to that bolt right there that grounds the whole thing. So we're gonna set that up. So you can see that one back there, that green one, we're gonna take off that spade terminal and put it over there. And then this last one right there, that's the sensor, but it comes with a new sensor over there, so we're gonna put that on after. Right, now that's up in there, and I just reused that hole and I self-tapped the new one. Now I think maybe there might have been some plate that came with it that could have used it, but whatever. Anyway, so now we're gonna do igniter and sensor and, you know, all that good stuff. You can see a little bit less corrosion, pretty good. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put it in the same way that we had it before, which I believe was this way. Yeah, just like so. Pop it in there, you see, and then there's a sensor wire in here. We're gonna connect the sensor from there to that sensor spade terminal. So you can see the flame sensors connected up there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to connect that spark, that ignition spark thing right there. So it comes with this weird little clip thing, and it comes with a booty, wherever that went, right here, and we've only been able to get it to work one way. Let me know in the comments below if there's a better way to get it to work, but it's kind of funky and we're gonna go for it. So it ended up breaking. Here's what it is. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna slide it in there, crimp it around, put it in there, and see if that'll do it. So you can see, just like that, I squeezed it around it so it's nice and tight. We're gonna bring it up here, and we're just gonna push it on that screw looking thing, and now that fits in there pretty good. And now we're going to take this boot, I'm going to slide the boot up and slide it over the whole thing. So this one's not cooperating today. The boot broke. Typically the boot just goes right over easy, so I think I might have to get some tape. Fortunately that metal thing will hold it in pretty good. The boot's just kind of like, you know, extra protection. I'm probably going to squish that in there now. Gonna have to change how it works just a little bit. We'll squish it in there, and then we might tape it up. Now we have to make the new pilot line from there to there, and we're going to emulate what they did before. Unscrewing this piece right here. Take a look at it. Alright, so we're now going to take a quick look at this. I'll show you how this is going to work. So you can see this is a new piece. I just bent open just a little bit to emulate it slightly. So you see this is the one side that goes in the side of the valve that does not do the pilot light. Well, they both do the pilot light, but you get what I mean, the side that actually goes to the valve itself. And you can see that it's just like 1/8 of an inch, like so. So we're going to push it in and then screw that down, and this is going to naturally crimp onto it. Now we have this one over here, and if we look at right here, we can see that it's like, you know, a little bit in there, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this guy, we're going to put it on here like so. Now we're going to hook everything up. So we're going to screw this in, and then we're going to screw in those two the best that we can. Worth mentioning, the connector that comes stock with the valve, you can see right here, is not big enough to work with our pilot line. So we have to take it off and substitute it with the one that came with our igniter kit. So just come over here, I'm going to unscrew this guy right in there. Screw that and take that out. Putting in this one right now. So we're just going to kind of screw this in, make sure it's good and solid. That's the other side, that side's still on there. We have a 10. I'm going to do this side first. If you look in there, there's a hard stop at the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it in and make sure that that pipe, you know, about touches that hard stop, and then we're going to screw in this other guy, and then we're going to tighten it up, make sure it has, you know, it's adequately tight. Well, actually we'll just hand tight it first, and then we'll connect the other one so we know that this pipe is working. So we're going to have to trim it just a bit. So there's nothing wrong with having it be this long really, but the door won't close, so we're going to have to trim it. So I'm going to go get some you know, pipe cutters. Pipe cutting off. You can see it's so much better now. So we're just gonna again shove that in there to the point where it hits that little lip, and then we're just gonna screw in this back one as hard as we can, hand tight, and then we're gonna go through and tighten them all with the wrenches. And test for am I on there hard enough is, can you pull it off, right? Just pull. If it's pretty hard, you're probably good to go. Also, just kind of a note, this gas valve has 2 stages of heat, but if we look at here, it seems to be that, so this is the unit next to it, this is the other side of the thing, so it seems to be that there's always 26 volts to it. So it always supplies 26 volts to the actual duct heater. So that means that there's only one thing, like one, we only need to set the inches of water column of gas. We only need to set the gas pressure. Okay, there we go. There we go. I got it, everybody. We only need to set the gas pressure we can set it to the same value for both low and high because it only has one operation. There's nothing in the controller that says, you know, this is high or this is low or this is whatever. Okay, it just has one operation. So I'm gonna set it. What we're gonna do is, well, first off, I gotta get my soapy bubbles. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna set it with this pulled off. We're gonna put it on and set it with it pulled on. So it's going to be the same no matter what stage it's on, because it doesn't have 2 stages. So now that everything's hooked up okay, we're going to use this Cal Blue micro gas leak detector. Now you don't got to use this one. You could use the Blue Monster. You could use other brands. This is just the one that I had today, so I'm going to be using that. Just an aside here, I have an issue with Dawn dish soap. You can use Dawn dish soap, don't get me wrong. It erodes the pipes. I'm a refrigeration tech at heart. It erodes the pipes, causes issues, and it's not as good, okay? And I am not gonna miss something when it comes to a gas line. This is actually formulated to, if anything, extend the life of piping, not degrade it. Now everything's in place, okay? Shut off the unit, we turn on the gas. Okay, we're just gonna check. We're gonna check all around, everywhere. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna spray everything with these, soapy bubbles. We're gonna spray there, we're gonna spray the union. Also smell. Use your nose. Do you smell gas? I'm also gonna spray down over here, just make sure there's nothing, from doing it. Okay, we're just gonna look for big bubbles. Look for big bubbles. I'm not seeing nothing. Okay. Now we're also gonna spray up there. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm kind of preloading it. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually gonna go turn on, the system, and we're gonna watch it and make sure there's nothing that's bubbling anywhere. Doesn't seem like anything's bubbling. And we're gonna watch it go through its thing, and then we're gonna actually have to tune the gas valve, for each of the water column, as I mentioned earlier. All right, so this is on. So we're looking. You can hear it start to do its thing. We're looking. So we're gonna have gas in this first element flowing through this first half. Right? Nothing. No bubbles. Good. And you can see right in there. You can see that we got gas going in there. We're going to take a look over here. Nothing. No bubbles. No bubbles. You want to be thorough with this as you can. No bubbles. So we're looking. Smells. Smell anything. Whatever happens. Oh, right there. You see? Some bubbles right there. So that's perfect. Gives you a good example of it. We're going to turn that in a little bit more. Screwed it in another turn. No more bubbles. Perfect. So no bubbles anywhere. Everything's been sitting for a while. No bubbles. Everything's looking okay. Alright. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to run it through one more time and watch it one more time, and then we're going to shut it off. Okay, gotta shut it off. Okay, I know a guy who left it on and he lit a roof on fire. Shut it off. Okay, we're going to open that little Allen key right there, plug it in on manometer, and then we're going to tune it. If you look up here, you can see low, high. Okay, that's the low setting and that's the high setting. We're going to tune the pressures at both. And we can control the low and high by just removing that, because remember, as I mentioned earlier, this system only has one setting. And right in there, I know that that's the port for setting the gas valve. So there's another one right there. So if you really wanted to, so that's the before. So this is the side on this pressure, and this is the pressure that it's releasing into the manifold right there, which according to this, normal manifold pressure should be 3.5 inches of water column. So we're going to take a look and examine that. I'm going to stop it one more time, and then I'm going to go through how to set that. So basically, we're going to hook a manometer up to there, and we're going to thread these in and out accordingly to get the desired result. Okay, so we have a manometer up there, so you can see right in there. There's the hole. Took out that little nut right there. I'm going to take my little wedge, shove it in there, put some tape on it, because sometimes you can use the tape as like an artificial thread if you don't have the exact size little port to go in there. So that's in there. They're stuck in there pretty good. And then up there I took off just a little thing. I have an Allen key set right there that we're going to use to unthread those guys, and I'll start that up. We'll take a look. Right now it's a little bit over 3 inches of water column, so I'm just going to lower it just a little bit. So So I'm going to lower it under 3.5 inches of water column. So right now we're on high. So I'm just going to take my, you know, whatever these are called right there, my Allen keys, and I'm going to turn it. And I'm pretty sure to the right closes it. Because you think of a screw going down and blocking the orifice. I'm surprised screwing it out to the left actually lowered it. So now it's at 3.25. That's good enough for me. I'm not going to fiddle with it to get it exactly what it is. Under it, I'm okay with. So what I'm going to do now, take a little screwdriver, and you're going to peek into the hole. You want to look right in there. Now, what you're looking for is, you see how it's blue, right? If you see excessive amounts of orange, that blue flame is super high. If you see the orange, sometimes you can actually even see it pour out of the heat exchanger or whatever you're dealing with, the ribbon burners. That's kind of telltale signs, especially on some other units. You can see it, the flames almost start licking the rollout switch. You know you're way too aggressive. Always look at it visually, because if it doesn't look right, it's probably not right. If it looks like it's too aggressive, it might be. I have found units that have actually had it on it written wrong. So this is good now. So now what I'm going to do, so this is 3.2. So now what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to pull out this high, and we're going to tune the low side. So I want to make sure that the low side is doing all right, and we'll see what that's at. Low side is at hardly 1. So I accidentally hooked it up to the negative. That's why you're getting the negative. So it's hardly 1. So I'm going to set it to about 2.5 to 3. Now, like I said, it's never going to utilize this side, but it should be set just in case. So same exact thing, but this time we're going on to the other side, like so, and we're just going to move it to the left, like I said before previously. I'm in to the left. Screwed it up, it's to the right, not to the left. So right increases, left decreases. I'm off base today. Oh boy, but you can see it. This is the app. The app, as I'm turning it to the right, you can physically see it in real time. I'm increasing the pressure. I might have done almost 1 full turn or something like that. And we're going to keep going. Keep going. There we go. About 3. We'll leave it there. So now it's about the same on both settings. And because, like I said, it only has 1 stage of heat on each side. Do not remove your manometer. Turn it off. Everything off. I'm just going to turn everything off. I'm going to turn off the gas. I'm going to turn off the whole thing. And screw that in there tight. Put that back on top. Everything's good now. So it should be all set. Replace the controller. Replace the valve. Replace some of this piping. Cleaned it out. Should be good to go. Now, just 2 things to show you. So this is stage 1 on this side. And on the other side, we have another stage, which is, well, that's stage 2. This is stage 1 over here. Okay, and then the other stage of heating is a heat reclaim from the rack refrigeration system, where basically, instead of our piping coming up to the condensers, the piping comes into there, making one giant heat pump. So that's stage 1. And then stage 2 is that heater in the corner, and then stage 3 is this guy over here. So that's how it stages up. So this individually only has 1 stage, which is the max output. But anyway, that's how you do it. A little bit different on my channel today, you know, doing some heat stuff because of the season and all that. But anyway, I hope you learned a thing or two. About a thing or two, please like, subscribe. And if you know a thing or two, comment below. Because remember, I'm just some dude on the internet. I'm not, you know, super tech in the world or whatever. I'm just a dude doing the best he can, you know, trying to show people a thing or two about a thing or two.